I think a statement was made, that the Sharks are back and we're for real this year.
It's time for Pucknology. Pucknology. After dark. Oh my.
Oh my. The Sharks are back to losing. Yes. If you can't be convinced by now, over the last 19 months, the reverse sweep curse is on. Sorry, I think it's time to call it a curse. Welcome to this edition of Pucknology After Dark, following a 4-2 New York Islanders victory over the San Jose Sharks. The Sharks are now 7-8 on the year. Yes, they are now below 500 and sit 3 points out of a playoff spot. If you want to be a part of the show, you'll be more than happy to join us. Please use the hashtag PucknologyAfterDark. Ask questions, comment, wherever. You can follow all of us on Twitter. Tonight you have at Pucknology, at PuckGuy14, at AJ_Strong, at Eric Landy. All right, so make sure you use the hashtag as you go along, and we will go on from there. Make sure we don't have any echo.
Don't forget, Mr. I Read Pucknology.
Oh, yes, wait, I'm sorry. I read Pucknology. I don't want to mess anybody up like I did like a week ago and never cut the end of it. All right, with that, let's introduce the panel tonight. We have Ian Reed.
Hey, everybody, how's it going?
It's not going good.
No, it is not.
We have AJ Strong.
Hey, everybody, the Sharks are back in the dump.
And we have Eric Landy, spelled the right way, so he's awesome.
Oh, I'm beyond mad at this point. I really am.
I think we all are. If NHL Ties is watching the postgame live, he's having a complete S-fit about Martin Jones's tie. There is massive gap control there. Anyways, enough about gap control. Wait, no, what am I talking about? Let's talk about gap control, because we couldn't stop the two of the first 3 pucks on net tonight. Initial thoughts, I'll start with you, Landy. Let's hear about how craptacular the Sharks played tonight as they head out on the road for 6 games starting Friday.
Yeah. Again, did not wake up for the game. Maybe they thought the pregame skate was 10 minutes into the game because they looked like they had their butts so far up their asses. Sorry, heads up so far their asses. It's not even funny.
I was about to say, dude, that would woo! All of a sudden, I was like waiting to see a carnival and contortionists and everything like that.
Yeah, no, it's getting ridiculous at this point, and you know what? It's getting to the point where it's like, why even watch the first period, because you know what's going to happen.
And after all of that, and like the guys have mentioned tonight, 9 out of the 15 games, the Sharks have allowed the other team to score the first goal of the game.
Well, that'll happen when you can't even score on the power play.
Which they are now 0 for 21 at home. If my math is correct, I would believe I had
that means they suck.
Well, yeah, they suck. I believe it is now a full 500 minutes and 33 seconds since the Sharks last scored a goal after the Jaws theme was played inside San Jose Arena.
And not even just that. Like, the Sharks have the worst power play in the league now, period.
Mm-hmm. Which also lends one to think that now when I hear that Jaws theme, it leads me to believe that, so for the next 2 minutes, we definitely won't be scoring.
And here's the big part of it all, is that it's going to let teams like Edmonton did in 2006, because the Sharks couldn't buy a power play goal, just take liberties against these guys and just don't do anything to make them pay for it. You know,
No.
or I'm waiting for like Dustin Brown to come back to the Shark Tank and sucker punch Pavelski, and he gets kicked out for 5 minutes. Meanwhile, Pavelski's out, and the Sharks get nothing on the power play.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous at this point. I think we've talked about the power play ad nauseum. Vlasic does not belong anywhere near a power play. Actually, at the very first power play when they put on the second unit, that second unit was driving play a lot better than that first unit was, which just goes to show you how low that first unit's confidence has gone down. And it's a joke at this point.
Well, there's no creativity. I mean, you can pull power play footage from 2013, and they've reverted back to their exact same thing. Joe on the half boards. He's looking for a pass. Will put it up to the point. Point will skate along the blue line, looking, nothing there. He'll pass it over to Burns. Burns doesn't see anything, so he'll rim it around and get it back to Joe, and there's nothing there. And nothing there. Joe will try to force it up front. It'll get intercepted and cleared out. Then the second unit comes back on. And then they'll give it to Vlasic. Vlasic shoots, and it's blocked in the feet of the defender and cleared down. I mean, it's getting where it's ad nauseum over and over and over again. It's got to stop sometime. They got to come up with something creative by now.
Yeah, and I had talked about this a little bit on Twitter. Before this game, the Sharks were 7-7, and at the same 14-game point last year, they were 7. Let's see if I got this right. 7-4-3. So at the same point last year, they had more points than they do now.
With John Scott.
With John Scott. And somebody was arguing with me. Well, it's too small a sample set to be talking about it this early. And I said, look,
talking about what?
Yeah, I understand why you think it's a small sample set, but I'm just saying, look how this is starting to set up. We are starting to see the same inconsistent struggles that we have always seen in this Shark team. And I said. The bad thing about them going into the tank right now is that I have no confidence that they'll be able to get this together in February, and be back in the playoff race, because they've got to bank these points now because they suck during the playoff run.
And with that, we go now for Ian's 101 rant on Peter DeBoer.
I'm ranting with Peter DeBoer?
I thought you had mentioned something about
that. No, that was me.
I'm sorry. And now we go to Landy's rant on Peter DeBoer.
Why has Pavelski not centered his own effing line? Jesus H. Center his own line. Spread out the offensive love.
Probably because he's the only one. Him and Ward are the only one producing.
Yeah. At least
that's the scary part, is that you have a 30-something, you have two 30-somethings leading your way while you're trying to reboot or retool on the fly, as we were told back in May of last year.
At least that Wingles and Tierney line looked like it got together in the second period. It actually looked pretty good when it had Donskoy on there, and it was Wingles, Tierney, and Donskoy, and they looked like they were pushing play quite a bit. And Hertl's line didn't look too bad. That bottom line, though, was not good. Joe's line was out there for the first goal against. Vlasic and Braun looked lost in the first period. I mean, it's the defense core that fell asleep, and it's the goaltending that didn't show up. And you know what? Every night, it's somebody different that screws up. And that's the problem. It's so inconsistent from night to night to night. It's either the forwards don't show up, it's either the defense doesn't show up, or you know what? It's either the goaltending is in the complete crapper.
Well, let's stop here for a second and just kind of hit topic by topic and go kind of around the room. At this point, why not put Marleau back at center? Having him center the second line. We saw Hertl do well centering the third line. You can have Tierney centering the fourth line. Have Marlowe come in, center the second line while Couture is out. What do you guys think?
That doesn't bother me. That's fine with me.
You have to try. Go ahead, Ian. I'm sorry.
I was, that's why I said they should have. Like when the Couture first got injured, I kind of thought that Marlowe would slide back to center and they would, put somebody up there that could play, like maybe like a Wingles or Nieto, and then kind of just push up the lineup. But we can't do that because we have to have Michael Haley and Mike Brown on the ice at all times. So who do you push up when you've got those guys bringing up the bottom?
Well, and at the same time, you're putting more pressure on the top 9 to try to do something, and there's just nothing there. And with that being said, it tells you that your depth is craptacular.
We got an interesting question on the chat that I think goes really well into this. It's from Joey Moore. He asked, what's your guys' thoughts on not starting on time? More coaching problem or just the players? And I have a thought on this, but I'd like to hear what you guys have to think before I go off.
I think it's a couple of things. I think it's the coaching staff not getting this team ready to go, and 2, it's the guys are going through the motions a little too much. I don't want to say they're comfortable being at home, but also a lot of these guys are getting a lot of optional skates lately, and I don't think they deserve an optional skate right now. It just doesn't look pretty, and to hear that they're getting optional skates already makes me wonder who's running the team on the ice.
Well, remember, we want players that want to live here, not work here. I mean,
yeah.
And actually, we do have just a couple of quick tweets. We'll get back to that. Said DeBoer is throwing his goaltenders under the bus, so I'm not sure what is being said right now on the post-game live with Brody and the guys, but I can't say I'm too surprised by that, the way Jones started the game tonight, and that is definitely something we'll touch on in a little bit. And just a quick funny one, people were mistaken about DeBoer. They took DeBoer's quote out of context. When DeBoer said that the Sharks were back, he meant the Sharks from last February. Thank you. I'm glad you were on the queue for that.
You're welcome.
That was a good clarification.
I wasn't sure to go with or go with.
Either works.
You chose wisely.
Yeah.
Or,
I'll
guys. Sorry, Ian.
Yeah, I'll just answer the question here too. I you know what? This is how I feel, and I hate that I'm like at this point now. But we've changed coaches. We've changed some of the roster players. Like the core is still intact, obviously, but we've changed a lot of the periphery. And it seems like the second line, you got guys in the second line playing really well. I thought the second line was good, and Joel Ward's a huge factor in that. Not a guy who was here last year. And to me, this is on the players. You've changed pretty much everything else at this point. I think it's the players.
It can be the players, but at the same time, like we've mentioned before, outside Vlasic, Pavelski, Thornton, and Marlowe, I believe that's all we have left that's on the roster that was here for Game 7 against the Flames in 2008. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think those are the only 4 players left, and they've changed the coaches twice. They've changed players up the yin yang, and
how many times? How many times in the past, and particularly it seems like during the playoffs, but how many times in the past have we discussed the special teams, especially the power play, going into the dumper when they needed it, and how big of a factor it was? I remember us ad nauseum talking about Woodcroft and Fire Woodcroft, and they were sucking in the circle. The power play couldn't get it done. Went 2 for 35 in a series, and now we're back to another. Like, how is it that we've got new players? We've got a new coach. You would think some sort of new system, although I'd be hard-pressed to see what's real new about the power play when the results are still the same, if not worse now. I go back to just that idea of, oh yeah, we spent a few minutes on the power play. We know that it's off, and I'm going, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's the thing too. Sorry, Eric. There's no offensive mind in that coaching staff right now.
No.
Unless it's the one guy, I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Hedberg. Spot.
No, not
Oh no.
Spot. Yeah, unless Spot's like a.
Yeah, sorry. Spot's the power play guy.
Yeah, I mean, unless he's supposed to be a power play genius, you have Kugner and you have Hedberg, and obviously, I guess they're keeping an eye more on the defensive abilities than anything else, and that's not looking good either.
Yeah.
And do we really think that Marlowe and Thornton at this point are going to change their game in any way?
No. No, you already asked Thornton to change his game once. You sold him the hey, you need to be a two-way forward kind of player, and he's done it, and he's been a good soldier about it. Haven't heard a peep out of him. That's fine. Marlowe, I mean,
while Thornton's points have gone down during that. Now, granted, he's been better defensively, but still.
Yep. No, I going back to what Eric said, it really does piss me off that this staff has really gone light on this team. To me, it seems like DeBoer is not riding him hard enough. Today he was playing cheerleader on the bench when he should have been cracking the whip.
And it was a great cheerleading face.
Oh my! I think I found myself a cheerleader.
And I thought that we were supposed to get a coach that was going to be a little bit harder on the players, a little bit harder than T-Mac. And right now, quite frankly, T-Mac was a hard ass compared to DeBoer.
Yeah, big time.
And I don't get it. I can't understand why they're doing the optional skates. I can't understand why they're doing optional practices. I can't understand why there is an inconsistency with the goaltenders. You've already pulled Jones a couple of times. You saw Stalock
twice in the last 3 games.
Yeah, twice in the last 3 games, and you've seen Stalock pick it up. Mind you, he let in a shit goal from the blue line. That has no.
Jones.
That has no place being there. But Jones gave up 2 shit goals back to back.
I forget who. It's just been a while, and I've probably drinking away that memory. Who was the goalie that Nolan scored on from center ice for St. Louis?
Roman Turek.
Turek, yeah, okay. It came to me right at the last. That was beyond Turek right there.
Yeah, and so it's ridiculous. And like I said before, we've gotten a players coach, and to be honest, Ron Wilson wasn't as hard as I would have liked him to be either. So we've had
Monteyo.
We've got 2 softies, and now it looks like we're setting up for a 3rd softie. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, get Michel Therrien or get Randy Carlisle. At least they'll crack the whip.
Even if we had a quote unquote whip cracker, I don't think it changes Thornton or Marlowe's game. And maybe that's a systemic thing that has happened throughout the roster over the last few years. Is the guys that are not making nearly as much money as Thornton and Marlowe, they watch their game. And you learn from the vets, you pick up things, and when you see the bigger name guys kind of goofing and not working as hard as maybe they could, there's plenty of times, and I've seen it mentioned that more than a few times Jumbo was referred to as stride, glide.
Yeah, and we got Chris saying Randy Carlisle, hell no. I'm not advocating for Randy Carlisle. I'm just advocating for a whip cracker. Who that is, I don't care. But to be honest, this players coach thing has gone 3 different coaches in a row, and it's really starting to piss me off.
And it can't be blamed on missing Couture.
No.
You can't blame it on missing one player. If one player means this much to you, is your linchpin, and that it cost you this severely, you have far bigger issues than you need to be dealing with.
No, and I agree with that. I mean, I think it's you don't want to. I mean, I'd like to see what the power play looks like with Couture back on it. If it gets back on a roll, then I mean, it still says stuff about a team's construction, but before we completely write off the power play, I'd like to see Couture at least back on it for a few games first.
Chris also chimes in. He says they don't need someone who yells more. They need someone who actually crafts a game plan and a coach instead of a hard ass. Well, what was Todd McClellan? Right? He was the guy that over-prepared players, if anything. He was the guy that did the crafting, and look how far that got him.
Maybe he was supposed to go Ron Wilson and take them on a team curling day.
Wait, I got something for you guys. Hang on. Ready?
But the thing that drives me absolutely batshit crazy is when people say, "Oh, it's luck. This is just they're just going through an unlucky streak." Bullshit, man. You make your own luck. That's one fluky bounce. Maybe that's luck, but to continually be getting outworked, no, that's not luck. That's just lack of effort.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, AJ. You make your own luck, and I've been saying that for years. And I have no sympathy for the Sharks when a puck bounces the wrong way, because you know what? They weren't working hard enough for those breaks.
Well, and the other thing too, guys, this team has always gone down. It's always gotten down when it's gotten a goal on early, or have had them lose a lead, or lose a series. This team has never psychologically recovered from anything. And again, this is why I'm putting it on what happened in the end of the 2013-14 season. They have not recovered from it, and it's in their heads. And who knows if they're getting it from the other team when they play, because there's absolutely no confidence. There's absolutely no intimidation going into the Shark Tank. The hockey fundamentals are going away. I'm gonna break out a text from my mother. Okay.
Oh shit.
What's the first thing you learned when you were playing hockey? Always know where the puck is, know where your opponent is, and stay with him. Support your goalie and never block your goalie's view. My mom knows that.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, Eric, that's a great point. What the hell was John Tavares doing so wide open in front of the net, and you had your shutdown pair out there?
How the hell does Corey Perry get behind everybody?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The mental lapses are killing me.
Mm-hmm.
They really are.
And so, more than a few people on Twitter think, a couple people on Twitter, of course, are they're returning to beating that old drum that we all know and love so well. No, it's not the Bring Back Drew. No, it's not Give Us Rock and Roll Part 2. It's let's put Burns back at forward. And
it's at the point where we're out of ideas.
But the whole thing, to me, that's the idea of cutting off the nose to spite the face. If we put Burns back at forward, I mean,
who's going to take his spot?
Yeah, exactly. Right. We don't have enough glaring holes on defensive right now. I mean, Martin, while that seemed to work out for the first 4 games, and then he got his injury, and since he's been back, he's had a couple of games, but I think we can all say that he's on a downward curve right now. He's not trending up, and I don't think any of us wants to see us relying on Dylan as our third guy, or Tennyson as the third guy, or Stollery as the third guy. So if you're going to pull Burns, who the hell do you replace him with?
Your lines would look like this. I mean, you'd have obviously Vlasic and Braun still in the top pair, which guess you'd have.
Which didn't mesh last year when they were together.
Right, so you have Vlasic, Braun, and then you'd have Martin, Tennyson, and then Dylan DeMello is probably what you're looking at as your defensive pairs. Like, I don't know. It's not. That's not even playoff defense. I mean, that's.
Yeah, you're basically
really above EHL level.
Yeah, you're pushing Dylan into a space above his head already, and now you're asking him to go again to play above his head even more. That's a recipe for disaster right there. Actually, it already is. He's already slotted above where he should be in my mind. He's a 6th, 7th guy at best, and you've got him playing fifth, fourth kind of minutes. That's ridiculous.
I'll just put this up here, guys. I mean, here we go. I mean, if we can commemorate stuff, and the worst part of it all is that the worst part of it all.
Gen X is working on a banner for that right now, just to let you know.
There you go. The worst part of it all is happy 25th anniversary. We're just gonna, piss.
We're gonna do the same shit you saw the previous 25 years.
Right.
Yeah. Way to really make the 25 year anniversary special. Just play as complete crap as you are, and be out of the playoffs by Thanksgiving instead of teasing us like last year.
And with that, we do have another non-sellout. Now, granted, it wasn't as bad as some of the previous ones, and the game on Saturday was technically a sellout. They announced 17,562. I was there. That's not the tickets that were scanned. It was probably a lot closer to 16-2, 16-3. I saw more than a few rows that were empty and patches of empty seats. Tonight, I don't know about you guys, it was 16,558, so about 1,000 less than normal. It looked less than that on TV, although it did sound full, so maybe that's just the problem with people wearing too many black jerseys. But another non-sellout nonetheless, and this is our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, eighth home game, and so they've sold 2 out of 8 home games, sold out 2 out of 8 home games. Funnily enough, both of them against Anaheim, and funnily enough, I've been to I think about half the home games so far. And Anaheim's had the best turnout so far. I saw a lot of orange sweaters over those 2 Anaheim games. What about you guys?
Slushy J Cat hits around ahead. We do need some defensive help, and I'm surprised by this. Can you believe we're 34 days into the season and still Scott Hannon hasn't been signed?
Yeah, he's still out there.
Let's sit on that.
But getting back to what you're saying, it's starting to get very scary for the attendance. I mean, I don't know what else you can really say about it, because it's at least it's not too bad at the moment, where you're having where they're below 15,000. They haven't dipped below that yet. But tell me, what is there that you want to, how you can promote the team?
They haven't deserved my money yet, and I went to the Carolina game, and even that they should have blown the doors off that game, and instead they let them hang around.
Yep.
And what's funny is you're seeing, Jesus Christ, it seems like there's a promotion every single night. Last Tuesday was like. It was, or whenever it was, or tonight, whatever it was, but it's like you had ladies' night, you had guys' night, you've had kids' night, and it's like, now this night we're going to give you a cheer card, now this time we're going to give you a locker. And, I mean, what the hell were they doing tonight? Was tonight the ladies' night? I think it was. So the ladies got, I don't know, a Sharks wine glass and a Sharks corkscrew, whatever they handed out. But either way, it feels like there's a promotion for every game of the night so far, and even that isn't doing it. It's and I know people that will come out there like, oh my God, I have to be there so I get this bobblehead or I get this trinket or whatever the hell they're handing out. People don't even care. I know people that have season tickets that are like, yeah, no, we just decided to do something else. They didn't even bother selling them. They're like, what am I going to get for them? Who cares?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's where it's at the point. We've complained so many times. Well, why aren't we doing this? Why are we getting this? Why aren't we doing any bobbleheads? Why aren't we doing a T-shirt or whatever? Now we have them. The problem is that you have no team to promote. And again, you have a team up north on Interstate 880 that's just killing it and getting all kinds of love that you wish you could have for yourself.
Yeah, but if you have to take into account, obviously they won the championship, but just the story over the last like 4 to 5 years has been, it's just a great story. You could script it like that, where you have a new ownership come in. People, there was I forget who it was, but there was one or two people that were traded away, and they introduced the owner like opening night 5 years ago, and he's summarily booed. Everybody's booing him. You suck, get out of here. Who's the Warrior from way back? He used to do
Rick Barry.
Yeah, and Rick Barry's, telling 20,000 fans, hey, show this guy some respect and blah, and doing all that. And then what happens? 5 years later, boom, championship. A lot of people want to, Steph Curry, the guy sucks, man. He can never be healthy. It's always his ankle every other week. And that was just a couple of years ago. And now now he's being anointed as like the guy who's changing the game and like the best player in the game.
Right. Yeah, and really, if you look at it, the Warriors are the complete antithesis of the Sharks in the last 3 years. What has been the playoff narrative of the Warriors? That they're supreme, they're elite, they don't let their the teams that they're playing against back in. What have the Sharks done? Well, they missed the playoffs last year. The year before that, they blow a 3-game series lead. They had the jugular on their opponent, and they couldn't close it out. Worth crap. And so now, you know what? Fans are fed up. This has been 2 years of this lackluster play, and you know what? Fans are starting to speak up with the most important thing, their wallet.
But it's not just 2 years, though. I mean, you can go back to losing in 7 to LA in the lockout shortened year, losing in 5 in embarrassment to St. Louis, losing in 2011 off of a puck that hit off a stanchion right to a defenseman, getting swept by an up-and-coming Chicago Blackhawk team, or the worst part, getting knocked out in 6 games when you're the team to beat by one of your SoCal rivals. I mean, it's just one thing after another.
Yeah, that's a perfect point that Landy brings up. This team has never, that I can even remember. They might have once, but all I have is all the memories of it not happening. They do not respond to adversity. We go back to the 2012 San Francisco Giants, who had Hunter Pence when they're down 2-0, best of 5, down 2 games to nothing. They need to win the next 3 games to make it to the next round.
On the road.
On the road. And Pence is in the dugout saying, "I'm not done playing this, ball with you guys this season yet. Let's,
I want to see what Vogelstone wears tomorrow."
And you've got them coming back down 0-2, boom. And then the same thing happens. They're down 3-1 in the next series, and they come back. And then they were so it felt like they were so galvanized after winning all of just consecutive elimination game after elimination game. And then what happens? The team, Detroit, was favored by a lot more people than San Francisco was, and San Francisco just sweeps them out.
They steamroll them. They made Justin Verlander look like a chump. Justin Verlander in the height of his power.
Yeah, Sandoval, 2 homers against him. Verlander really hasn't recovered since after he looked at that second one and went, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? The topper is that's all happened in the Bay Area. We had the Warriors making this historic run, which happened on the Bay Area. So the Bay Area knows a winner. They know teams that have mental toughness, and they look at the Sharks and they go, you know what? That doesn't earn my money. You know what? They're not going out there playing with any heart. They don't care. They're just cashing checks.
I mean, at this point, we can remind everybody, outside of the San Jose Lasers, since the turn of the century, pretty much every team, well, I take it back, the Lasers and sadly the A's have played for a championship in the Bay Area. The Raiders lost Super Bowl 37. The Niners lost Super Bowl 47. The Giants have won 3. The Warriors won. The Earthquakes have won 2 titles. The SaberCats, I believe, have 4 over the last 15 years, and they're probably on their way to Stockton because they're having an issue with SAP Center.
And don't forget about the San Jose Rhinos.
The Rhinos.
Yeah.
The first professional championship for the city of San Jose is the freaking Rhinos. And in fact, outside the Lasers, you have the Rhinos, the Cyber Rays, the women's soccer team, the Earthquakes. Only the Sharks and the Lasers don't have a championship after calling San Jose home.
And let's be honest, had the Lasers actually played longer, they probably would have gotten one.
Hell. Oh, you want me to go even further? Because I worked for them. The XFL San Francisco Demons played for a championship in 2001.
All right. So I guess then I will make this segue perfect. It'll be a layup. There has been one constant in these playoff failures.
Oh, pick me!
He's got a 1 and a 2 in his number.
Give me a 1 and a 2.
Yeah. Guys, do we want to open up the floodgate that is the Patrick Marleau trade rumors and what that means?
If it's actual water, then by all means, yes, because then the drought will be over.
Yeah. AJ, start us off in the right direction.
It's just I'm so conflicted with this whole idea, and not in the way that I would want to see that I would care if Marleau was traded. I mean, a lot of times you're not going to keep everybody all the time. Surprisingly enough, that happens very rarely, where the guy who comes up through your system actually stays there until he retires. I wouldn't have a problem with Marleau leaving. My conflict is I just can't wrap my head around the idea of Wilson actually letting him go. This is a guy that trade rumors have surrounded him. I mean, how long now? There was after the 08-09 playoffs, the trade rumors. Tim Kawakami at one point, after a playoff run, wrote a huge article saying now is the time to move and get rid of Marleau. It's time. Of course, the following year, Marleau had the best season he's ever had as a Shark, which, if anything, just goes to show that we need Kawakami to write another Trade Him Now article. But it's at this point, I felt like Wilson seems like he's always had a thing for Marleau. He's wanted him to retire as a Shark. It's like they want him to be the first lifelong Shark, the first guy whose number goes up into the rafters. That being said, if the return is good, if Wilson can get good value, and that's my biggest fear, I don't want another Jamie McGinn trade. You know what I mean? I don't want something like that. If you can put something together that is going to get the Sharks, bring them back actual value, maybe a little bit more for us finally than the other team, a little bit. And I'm also afraid that it's not going to be any help now. If this is the case that you're letting Marleau go now, I think I just can't see what LA or Anaheim or the Rangers are willing to give up. You would think it's got to be salary for salary because Marleau has granted it's only for the rest of this year and next season, but that's $7 million, not a small number by any stretch. Not saying that the Rangers would be willing to part with Nash or whoever you're going to get back, but it's got to be, for me. I can just see it being picks. I can see the Sharks getting fleeced in it, and it's not going to end up being value for value, and it's not going to help our defense at all.
No.
Go ahead.
No. So I mean, for me, I'm the same way with AJ. If you don't get at least a little bit of something, it's a waste. It's going to be Jerome Iginla all over again. So I mean, for me at least, I'm in total agreement with AJ. You got to get at least something out of it. You got to make it at least a wash as far as a trade goes. And that's where I'm at with this. What really pisses me off though is that the teams that he supposedly submitted are your two biggest rivals and New York. So basically, you're forcing Wilson's hand to trade him to New York, and New York knows that, they're gonna give him pennies on the dollar for that value.
It's kind of like the as I'm showing you,
Oh my
Chester
God!
Cheever's
Oh my!
Photoshop.
Oh no!
Yeah, this is from Chester Cheevo, which you rock for putting this together.
I'm gonna hurl.
I that's just disgusting right now. That on my screen. I just think that there's absolutely no way this happens, and I think this is smart on Marlowe's part. He does not want to leave San Jose. I think, even though Bob McKenzie came out with a tweet at 9 o'clock tonight saying it's not the Sharks that have asked Marlowe, it's more so Marlowe asking San Jose to explore trade options. Something must have happened in that locker room from a month where DeBoer says the Sharks are back to now where they're 7-8 and sitting now 3 points out of a playoff spot, to seeing people starting photoshopping him in a Ducks and a Kings jersey. Now, getting back to that, I think it's smart on Marlowe's part. If he doesn't want to go and he has a list of teams that he's going to submit, sure, he's going to submit New York because it's the big one, it's the Big Apple and everything. But he's also submitting the two top rivals of the Sharks, the Kings and the Ducks. And let's be real here as I take this down really quick. If Wilson makes a trade with the Kings or the Ducks for quote-unquote Mr. Shark, the guy who has virtually every offensive record outside the assists in the Sharks record book,
Wilson is going to get decimated.
He's going to get decimated either way, though. The way the Sharks are playing, he can't survive this year.
I just go back to now here Ian just made the perfect point. This is a way for Wilson to salvage his job and go at least one more season after this, is if he pulls off a ridiculous trade that completely falls the way for the Sharks. And the odds of that happening are about the same as the Sharks winning the Stanley Cup last year.
However, we have seen Doug pull a crazy trade out of his ass.
When? I mean, I'm talking recently, something that worked out better for the Sharks.
Not recently, but I mean, let's
look at Joe Thornton. That's my point.
We're looking at Joe Thornton for Patrick Marleau, for Marco Sturm, Wayne Primo, and Brad Stewart.
10 years ago.
And you can even look at video in the past. Even Bob McKenzie, even the TSN guys were all saying, I'm stunned that didn't include Patrick Marleau in it. I'm stunned that didn't include a first-round pick in it. Doug has found a way to do that,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, can he do it now that, like, with the way the cap is now and all these long-term deals, I don't know if you can hit a deal like that out of the park anymore. I don't think that deal can exist anymore.
Yeah, and the only player that could even take on a contract without anything going the other way is LA, right? They have $7 million in cap space. Anaheim. You know that Bob Murray has Wilson over a barrel at this point, and you know he's not going to give him anything.
Well, and the Sharks, let's be honest. Remenda already mentioned it out that he said, Marleau pouted about not getting a letter last time. Mm-hmm. So if he wants to sit here and pout again, okay, that's fine. It just comes down to what can the Sharks get back. If Marleau's forcing Doug's hand, which, I mean, not necessarily forcing it, but if he's saying, yeah, I want out and here's the three teams that all agreed to, well, if these are the only three teams you'll agree to, I mean, how bad really do you want out? I mean, I would assume there might be a few more teams on there that you'd consider. Maybe Montreal, maybe Tampa Bay, but it's what can we get back? That's the most important thing. What are the Sharks, if they see Marleau depart, what can the Sharks get back that will either A, help them now, or help them in a year from now? Because Wilson, let's be honest, if he doesn't bring back something severe that totally helps the Sharks, he's gone, and I have zero faith in that happening with Wilson. I mean, you can talk about the Thornton trade, but that was 10 years ago. You can talk about the Burns trade. I mean, Setaguchi, Coyle, and a first rounder. Maybe you call that about...
He's overpaid.
Yeah, he is overpaid.
I mean, he's overpaid since the Joe Thornton trade. I mean, look at the Campbell. You look at the Guerin, Campbell, Rivet.
Okay, Boyle ended up being,
Boyle was a steal.
Yeah,
that was a.
But
somebody
bent over.
You give up Carl in a first along with Weezer. Okay, yeah, Weezer was a throwaway, but the first round, I forget what Tampa did with it. I mean,
but you look at all the
Carl.
The goddamn rentals, Guerin and Campbell. I mean, you think about those. So that's why I'm saying, just if you just look at like the last 3 years, the moves that he has made, the best one, and talk about Segway King here now, boys and girls. One of the best ones you could actually think about is the way he pried Martin Jones out of L.A. Now, 4 games into the season, we're like, oh my God, what a fantastic move, and he's a genius.
He's looking like a genius.
He looks like a genius, although you'd still be hard-pressed to find somebody that will say giving up a first for a goaltender is a good move. I don't care if he's 6'4" and only 25 years old. Yeah, giving up a first is kind of a big, big give. But once again, Doug, overpay you Wilson is going to make that meal. And, hey, you know what? For the first 4 games, it looked like a genius move. Now it comes down to, is Jones not who is he the opposite of I forget the coach. They are who we thought they were.
Dennis
now
Green.
It's like, Denny Green. Now is Jones not who we thought he was?
And
I think one thing too is I think a lot of like smarter, like some of the more smarter Shark fans that don't just go with whatever the wind blows. A lot of us criticize the lack of lottery protection on that first round pick.
Yes, right. Yes. It should have at least included lottery protection.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because right now
another overpayment.
And right now, if we were to the proverbial, if the season ended today, and yes, I'm dropping that November 10th, but right now, that pick is number 10 in the draft next year. Right now, Boston would have the number 10 pick thanks to the San Jose Sharks. And I forget who mentioned it on Twitter, and I thank you for it, but I apologize I didn't have it. But if you're signing Ward and Martin and you're trading for Jones with a first-round pick, you're basically saying, we're going for it all, we're going to win right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're at 7-8 now. You have 2 teams, and let me get the standings up while I'm talking about this. You have 2 teams with youngsters ruling them right now. You have Arizona, who beat LA tonight. You have the Vancouver Canucks, who have a trio of youngsters who they decided to keep up. And they're in first place right now. Like, why did that not update? That should read, of course, epic fail on my part. It didn't fucking update. Vancouver should be first place.
AOL didn't update quick enough for that graphic.
That was for you, Chris.
Oh, shit.
Let me pay you the sounder for Sharks fan.
You know what, though? The funny yet ironic thing is that when Ian and I did the Pacific preview,
mm-hmm.
What's funny is when you look at that graphic, if you can put the graphic back up,
yep.
The funniest part about that is the only one that is about where we thought they were going to be is San Jose. Everybody else is completely off the map.
Yeah.
Like everybody on that list is at least 2 spots away from where we predicted they might be. Now, granted, like you said, it's only November, we're only a month into the season, but it's just so funny how the puck bounces some days.
Mm-hmm.
We got a question from one of our good listeners. Is from Laurel. She asks, a no movement clause doesn't protect Marlowe from being bought out by the Sharks, does it? And I just want to float out a piece of information. If they do a buyout, it has to be a traditional buyout, and that comes with the cap penalty. But does a no move clause protect him from a buyout? Ian?
No, it doesn't. They can buy him out.
Can they do that in the middle of a season?
No, there's only certain windows that you can buy somebody out. So he's definitely here for the rest of the year, provided he doesn't get traded. Let me have a go here at this whole Marlowe trade fiasco. The things that are interesting about this trade, this to me, is that Marlowe doesn't seem to really like Doug Wilson a lot. So it's kind of like if he's kind of just that sick of it and he kind of wants out, it kind of makes sense with the teams that he picked because he's basically scorching the earth on his way out behind him. As much as I don't dislike Marlowe, I like Marlowe. I mean, he's been a Shark for so long, and it's just you get comfortable. But at the same time, like all these people that are like, oh, Marlowe wouldn't do that to the fans, blah 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 blah. Like, you got to remember, this is a fucking business. How many lockouts do we need to sit through to remember that this is a business?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, if he's that sour about the situation and he wants off the team, and if maybe, things with him and Doug Wilson, we don't know. I mean, this is all speculation on my part, obviously. But if things weren't patched up over the summer between him and Wilson and they've gotten, that toxic that he wants to be, off the team and doesn't think that, Hasso is going to pull the trigger on it, maybe he does want out, and wanting to go to San Jose or San Jose, sorry, he is on San Jose, wanting to go to Anaheim or Los Angeles, it makes sense. His home's in the Bay Area. If he goes to one of those two teams, A, they're both contenders. B, the family doesn't have to relocate. And then if you're gonna go, if you're gonna go anywhere else, I mean, why the hell not New York, right?
Right. No, that's great, great insight, and I agree. Something funny, Generation X-Wing just chimed in with, he chimed in a little while ago. It says, Marlowe leaked this to fire back at DW / San Jose for leaking the trade crap again.
Now that you bring that up, how funny is that? It's so our two, our elder statesmen of the Sharks, Patrick Marleau, Joe Thornton, both of whom over the last 12 months having issues in the press with Doug Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes you wonder, maybe that's even just another harbinger that, Wilson is a lame duck at this point.
Yeah.
Well,
So I have two thoughts about this. This is either
you can only say one.
he's either
you could say two, damn it.
He's either butthurt about not getting a letter, or Pavelski finally feels like he can call him out on his shit because he's captain.
Ooh. Oh, man. Now you want to be a fly on the wall, right?
Oof.
Those are the two I'm throwing up there to see which sticks.
Oh. See, I have a couple things that I want to say. I want to let the other guys get their 2 cents on that first, because I have 2 things that I want to hit on.
Sure, I want to throw something in here too. If you're trading Marlowe, I mean, going back to what you guys were talking about earlier about getting value back for Patrick Marleau, you have to think that if they're going to trade Patrick Marleau, are we not just kickstarting, like maybe they use that to kickstart the rebuild again? I mean, obviously, to miss the playoffs this year would be devastating. We don't have a first-round pick. We don't have a third-round pick. So we have a second, a third, 2 fourths, a fifth, and a sixth and 3 sevenths, I think. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Oh, God, DW loves those sevenths.
Oh, he loves those sevenths.
Well, he's thinking he's going to hit lightning twice again.
Just to interject for a second, though, that's why I'm worried that Marleau, that's what he ends up moving for, is somebody's first pick. But who's going to give a first-rounder, especially out of those 3 teams, for a 35-year-old, guy on doing it basically
If
his
you're
one last
looking-
You mean kind of like how we did with Bill Guerin?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking
Exactly.
at a team that thinks that Marlowe can, add just that enough to get them over the hump, I mean, that's what you do if you're trying to build a contender. You mortgage the future. So, if you're talking about Anaheim, Chris Edwards in the chat, he brought up Nick Ritchie. Nick Ritchie would be an awesome prospect. That'd be an awesome get for us.
And how much would Lombardi love to get Marlowe and win the cup with him? And just a big FU to the Sharks for
There were a couple of Kings fans when I asked John Butchergross about, do you think if Marlowe would be traded? And Butchergross said, yeah, I see him being traded. And a Kings fan, kind of went with, oh man, just think if Dustin Brown could hand the cup over to Patrick Marlowe.
Oh my God, I would vomit. I would literally vomit.
And one person then wrote back, well, they should go Dustin Brown to Tomas Hertl to Patrick Marlowe.
Good luck. Good luck.
Basically, and I'm looking at GeneralFanager.com, a great resource now that CapGeek has left us, unfortunately. With LA, you're going to have to give up something on the team right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless if it's just straight up a player for somebody, because they have like a little under $1.5 million,
and they have to re-sign Kopitar.
And they have to re-sign Kopitar next season. So if you're going to do a straight up trade, like say maybe, and again, emphasize that we're just throwing this out there. It's not going to happen. A la the Steven Stamkos deal that we were hoping for. Man, if that would happen, that'd be awesome.
Goofball threw that shit out there.
Hey, but maybe the negotiations with Anze Kopitar aren't going well. They trade him, and like maybe you trade LA Patrick Marleau and a second round pick to get Kopitar. I mean, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Or even, or for that matter, you send Marleau and a pick for Drew Doughty.
No,
that
that's
would
not
shore,
happening.
that
That
would
is
shore up.
Ned. We'll get Kopitar before we get Doughty.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's what you're looking at because LA's so up against the cap. So if LA's an option, that's what they would have to give up. Now, for Anaheim's sake, they have $7 million where they can send us prospects and picks to them. They don't need to give up on Corey Perry or Ryan Kessler or anything like that.
I do want to point out that Anaheim is an internal cap team, though.
Yes. And just to go over the Sharks draft picks, because I do have it up, want to make a shout out to Pro Sports Transactions. They are a great website for any sports and draft pick ownership. So you can take a look at that, and they've got a really good breakdown for NHL picks. Sharks have no first rounder, went to the Bruins. The Sharks were, in fact, in ownership of 2 second-round picks, but traded their second-round pick to the Avalanche for Jeremy Waugh. So the Sharks only have 1 second-rounder, have no third-rounder, have 2 fourth-rounders. That was the pick that they got for James Shepherd, if anybody remembers that from the Rangers. They've got one fifth, 1 sixth, and 3 sevenths.
So I was right.
Because sevens work out so well.
Yeah, so there's
just waiting for the next Pavelski.
Yeah. Well, I'll hold my breath. All right, so finishing this off, one of the Marleau tweets that I thought was kind of funny is somebody saying that if they got rid of Marleau, that would impact ticket sales even further, which kind of made me giggle a little bit because, I'm sorry, one player is not the end-all, be-all of ticket sales. If they got rid of Marleau and then, went on some ridiculous run where they won, then went 8-2 over the next 10 and started, obviously, winning cures all. So I just thought that was a little funny. But Slushy Jake is saying trading Marleau would be like the Bruins trading Bork. Now, that I thought was kind of funny because a little bit, but
I could see it a little bit.
Bork a little bit, but Bork was far more beloved in Boston. Also because, let's be honest, Boston is way more of a hockey town than San Jose will ever be. But it was also that idea of when Bork went to a team, you know, they made sure that they got a good, that it worked out well. If you go back and look, Boston got not a whole lot for Bork. It was basically done as saying thank you for 2 decades of service here.
Right.
We're going to do what we can to help you get a ring because we just couldn't do it. And then of course when he got a ring, Boston made a decent amount of money on Ray Bork jerseys. and you saw, I mean, I don't know how many the half and half jerseys where it was a half Avalanche jersey, half. He's one of the guys that kind of transcended the game as just an all-around beloved player. So you can do that. Marlowe's not that guy, and Marlowe's been on the West Coast all of his life, so. Yeah, the guys on the East Coast, they're not that familiar with him. But it's a good point, Jake. But it's not the same. It's not totally the same.
Yeah, it'd be more like I think more like a Ginla, right? I think that's kind of where I draw the comparison as far as what the return you could get for him, what he means to the franchise, not necessarily as far as what he means to the community, because of course we know Calgary is hockey mad, and he's going to be way more implanted in that community. Although Marlowe has done a lot for the San Jose community, but it's just as far as hockey overview and hockey, what he means to hockey in Calgary. Marlowe doesn't mean the same for hockey in
See, I didn't see what happened from Calgary with Iginla. What I saw out of Boston with Bork, nobody wanted to see Bork leave. There were other fans at Calgary that were like, "Yeah, it's probably time for Iginla to get the hell out of here." Okay, it is time to move on. And it was the fact that and it's also that story had Iginla won the cup the next season. You probably would have had a lot of fans that were like, oh, good for him. He did a lot for us. But, Ray Bork, 20 years, same team. And then he goes out and says, okay, I'm playing for the cup. They win. He wins a cup, and that's it. He's out. He returns. But, I think he had his own little mini parade in Boston with it. So he recognized it. I mean, it was just an all-around great story. It's kind of a singular thing that you're not going to see duplicated. Our buddy Chris... did point out a really nice thing on Twitter, saying the Sharks are the only team in the NHL right now whose top 5 scorers are all over 30. So great drafting. I mean, obviously Pavelski and Ward, and it's just you think about it, and I'm sure Marlowe's in the mix. So I don't have the numbers in front of me, but
Marlowe, Ward, Pavelski, Thornton, and Burns.
Burns, yeah.
Yeah, and a great point followed up by Gen X is, and how many of those over 30 were San Jose draft picks? And of course, Chris had the number with Marlowe and Pavelski, both of those two.
Yeah, and the Kings don't have a first rounder. Just to put that out there for everybody.
Well, I don't think Marlowe was getting a first rounder. I don't care what anybody says. But it's once again, we talked about this last. It comes down to drafting. That's another reason why I think this is the kind of final.
And neither do the Rangers.
This is the final.
We have.
Am I not talking here? Why does everybody keep interrupting?
Well, I'm sorry. I will let you finish. We have a tweet. I'm not sure if many people know about it. This is from Christina Marlowe. This is from Marlowe's wife at @C_Marlowe. Math for media. An unnamed source rumor plus add in 3 cities still equals just a rumor. The guy just played with the flu. Give him a break. That's from Christina Marlowe, not even 5 minutes ago.
Okay, well, first off, and I mean, I hate to get into family shit because that's it's family. But the fact that his wife is tweeting out something like that just makes me kind of go, hey, Marlowe, get your own Twitter, bro. Or it's kind of like like with Thornton's brother with some of the shit that Thornton, but at least Thornton's brother was his agent. But
Yeah.
you see shit like that, it just makes you go, yeah, that's not cool. But getting back to the draft, and just like Gen X said, Marlowe is a second rounder and prospect at most, which I completely agree with. I don't think anybody's given up a first for him. But it does go back to the drafting and why I think that, yeah, this has to be it for Wilson. I mean, all this time can't develop one fucking defenseman. Okay, Vlasic, I'll give you Vlasic, and that wasn't even like a Sharks pick. That was what we got, for Kiprusoff. But it's just the fact that they've had such an awful history at drafting and developing D-men. It's in draft. Let's be honest, just drafting and developing at all. I mean, aside from Hurdle, and still, let's be honest, the jury's kind of out on that one right now. Marlowe looked sketchy here and there when he was first in, and that's always been the bust on him, is his consistency. But you go in and you look at what we have. Tierney. I don't think anybody. Yeah, okay, I'll give you Tierney. Okay, so 1 in 20 players. Wow, what a fantastic percentage that is. But and obviously there's other picks involved. But my point being is that I keep going back to the defense. And
you're totally right. Ed, you're totally right.
You look at our defense. Vlasic, yeah, that was great. That was also over 10 years ago. Braun, Steele at his position, I would say. It was a good pick for his position. But you look at Stollery and Tennyson and the other ones that are in the pipe, and you're just, come on. When you look at the talent or the picks that you wasted on Wissert and Doherty and Petrecki, it's mine. I'm shocked that he's still, that the scouting department, much less Wilson, still has a job at this point.
And that's the great point, AJ. They've had a number of scouts there for a number of years, and it just seems over and over and over again that they have no idea what they're drafting or they're trying to develop. You mix in the scouting with the tutelage of the longest tenured AHL coach.
Oh, no, we go on the
Roy Sommer.
Now, can you, with what you just
and Pizzamo.
With what you just said about Sommer, this is the one thing I wanted to hear from you guys. That Kurz had actually brought up on Twitter is Goldobin gets benched in his game on Sunday with the Barracuda, and somehow that gets him a call-up, even after Sommer called him out.
Yeah, I don't
a call-up?
Yeah, I don't get it either. I think there's a disconnect. I honestly think there's a disconnect throughout the entire organization. It's not cohesive anymore, because you've got a AHL coach and an NHL coach that aren't on the same page. You've got an AHL coach and a general manager who aren't on the same page. You've got a director of scouting and an AHL coach not on the same page. It's ridiculous. And now, after you've burnt all of your first-round picks, you've burnt some of your better prospects, now it's starting to come back, and they had to do that restock, and we're not going to see these restock kids for another year, maybe 2 years. So I mean, if you look back at, like, let's say the 2010 draft, 2011 draft, 2012 draft, I mean, what has come out of those? 2010 and 2011. What has come out of those? Not much. Not much.
Nothing.
It's like whoever's doing the Sharks drafting is also doing the 49ers drafting.
Yeah.
Jimmy Boltke. Because Boltke's a great general manager. I don't know what you're talking about.
And the other thing too, with when you bring up like Justin Braun being like one of the Sharks defensemen that have developed by the Sharks and are but he did most of his development in college, which means he missed most of that time in Worcester. Like, he does have some time in Worcester, but I don't think it'd be like, I don't consider it significant. I think he's got maybe 40 games in the AHL, maybe a little bit more, but I don't, but at the same time, I still think that most of his games he has still put up to the NHL pretty quick.
Yeah, Couture missed a lot of summer time.
Mm-hmm.
He was there for a short time because he was stashed away in Ottawa.
Didn't Vlasic as well?
Vlasic never
No,
played
Vlasic
until
was jumped to the NHL.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, he had a little seasoning like during an All-Star break, but that was it. Going through the drafts, 2010, Charlie Coyle, Max Gady, Cody Ferrero, Freddie Hamilton, Isaac McLeod, Conrad Abelhauser, Lee Maffey, Chris Crane.
I
Outside
remember
of all of
Hamilton
Coyle.
Hamilton and Albert Hauser as the only names I saw.
and I think Coyle is the only one in the NHL, unless I'm mistaken, that Freddie's playing with the Avalanche. The 2011 draft, we didn't have a first, mind you, because that was sent for Bernsey. Matt Nieto, Justin Sefton, Sean Corrali, who we just traded Martin Jones for, Daniel Shevchenko, Dylan Danilo, Colin Blackwell. Okay, that's 2011. 2012, Tomas Hertl, Chris Tierney, Christoph Lancelette, Daniel O'Regan, Cliff Watson, Joachim Ryan.
That's not a bad draft.
Yeah, no,
That's
that
not a
was
bad draft because I keep going back to the top 3 rounds. Let me see what your top 3 picks are. Now, every once in a while, yeah, the blind nut finds a squirrel every once in a while. You're going to get your occasional Pavelski. You're going to get your once in a while bronze. I want to see what you do with those first 3 picks, essentially your most important picks. And looking back at the last 7-8 years, they've been a fucking tire fire for the most part, at least on defense.
And listen to this. This is the 2009 draft. You don't have a first rounder. You have 2 seconds. So you pick William Wren, and you pick Taylor Doherty.
2 defensemen who never sniffed an NHL game.
Then you have in the 5th round, you have Philip Veroni, you have Marek Vidensky in the 7th, and Dominic Bleak. Now Vidensky, I remember pretty well because he was the one that got demoted to the ECHL, and then he left for Europe because he just couldn't hack it. Veroni got traded to Buffalo, or he didn't resign, and he resigned in Buffalo. Look at the 2008 draft. You pick Samuel Gruel as your top defensive guy in the 4th round. You have
Say it with us all now. Who?
Yeah, Julian Demers in the 5th round. And then you have Jason Demers in the 7th, and that was the 2008 draft. So 2007, you have Petrecki that gets really missed.
Here's the thing too, though. When you look at when you go back this far, though, you have to remember, no one really had the foresight of how the game was going to change with the rule changes, the obstruction changes, and everything else. So a guy like Nick Petrecki probably would have been a decent NHL defenseman when you could jet ski into the defensive zone.
True.
Yeah, he probably would have been like another Mike Rathje kind of guy.
Sure, but those guys worked at that time.
Yeah, and I'll give you that. But I still, that's not what was projected for Ty Wissert. That was, and so that's why I just look at that and it just drives me nuts that they can't figure out. Like now, obviously we have to predicate this all on the idea of, we're not expecting the Sharks to bat 1,000 every single draft. We don't expect all of their picks to make it to the team the next year and knock people out. But and like I said, I really focus on the first 3 rounds. And you look at those first 3 rounds under Wilson's tenure, and especially and pretty much solely the defensive ones. They've been a nightmare.
Hey, you know what? And the other thing I want to bring up too is, how about if we had just in an alternate universe where the Sharks picks were actually the Detroit Red Wings picks, and they took these same prospects and put them in their system? How many of them would have gotten to the NHL? Right?
A lot more.
Would Petrecki have been a stud defenseman? Would Wren have worked? Would Freddie Hamilton? That's the kind of player that Detroit makes, and then they just over-ripen him, and they get him at a great level. You look at Abdelhauser. He could have been really well suited for that Detroit organization. That just goes to show me that the Sharks have not put any thought into their development system. And forget about the drafting, because the drafting, you know what? At some point, I feel like you're drafting for the sheer raw skill, and then it's up to your development system to take those prospects and then to mold them into NHL players.
It's funny you bring that up. I don't know if it was Kevin Kurz or who, I think it was Kurz, who basically kind of negated the whole minor league idea, where I brought that up. I think Eric's brought that up to him a couple times, where that Kurz reports that Sommer gets a contract extension, and it's like, so they're extending him for winning how many championships again, and Kurz is kind of Kurz has blown off the importance of that, and it's doesn't matter how many
players.
Yeah, it's about developing the players, and it's okay. Well, how many have been developed? And you look at those, like I said, the top 3 rounds, and it's been, aside from Hurdle, give me someone of significance. It's like, okay, Nieto. Yeah, he's made the squad, and what's happened? He had his chance on the first line, and on the second line, and on the third line. He's playing fourth line now, and let's be honest, if we had Torres up, if we had a healthy Couture, I mean, obviously Haley and Brown are probably going to be the first ones off, but you add one more name to that list, Nieto might be seeing some time with the Barracuda at this point.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you know what? Like I said before, it just seems like the development system is an oversight. It's not how the organization was kind of brought up and developed. And the other thing I wanted to look at is how many player signings does the AHL have? What's the ratio between players that have signed minor league contracts to players that the Sharks actually own? You look at this year and you look at last year, and I tell you what, I think it's almost a 50-50 split. And to me, that means that you're not entrusting the people that you've drafted into your own system. Ian, can you check the numbers for me on that?
Right now.
Because
by all means.
Because it just seems like they are trying to sign guys to minor league deals that their ceiling is just not that high, and it's never going to be more than an NHL journeyman at best.
Yeah, I mean, but that's one place I will give the Sharks credit for is finding free agents like Donskoy, Carlson, Yevolovs,
No, but I mean minor league signings, just straight up minor league, and not two-way deal, or not two-way deals where they can have an NHL, where they have an NHL clause that they can be brought up.
One-way two-way deal. Give me a second.
While you look at that, I'm going to go through here. I think you were probably looking at the same page I was, Landy, when you were talking about. The Sharks have drafted 41 defensemen since they drafted Jim Fahey in round 8 in the 98 draft. And they are Douglas Murray, Jeff Gilson, Pasi Serenen, Tero Mata, Christian Ehrhoff. There's 3 people so far I've only heard of. Michael Hutchins, Tom Walsh, Dan Spang, Matt Carl, Brian O'Hanley, Christian Jensen, Dave McDonald, Mike Fernandez, let's see, Will Hobart, Derek Joslin, he played for some time, Mark-Edouard Vlasic, James Delory, Ty Wiesert, that was part of the Boyle trade, Justin Braun, Nick Petrecki, well, we've heard of him, he didn't do anything. Jason Demers, there's 8. Julian Demers, didn't hear from him. Samuel Gruel, didn't hear from him. Dominic Belke, didn't hear from him. Taylor Doherty, he probably played a cup of coffee, that's it. Lee Moffey, that's it. Conrad Abelhauser, did he even play for the Sharks? Isaac McLeod. Let's see, who else? Dylan DeMello, he just played this year. He was drafted in 2011. Joachim Ryan, Cliff Watson. Are they even? I think Ryan's still with the team, right?
Yeah. Well, Watson is a college.
Okay.
So we won't see him, and then Ryan is playing with the Barracuda right now.
Gage Osmus, Michael Brodzinski.
Brodzynski is still in the system as
College.
well. He's in college as well,
Okay, Mirko
which is probably
Murillo,
a better spot for him than on
being
the.
with Sommer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I am seriously worried for Julius Bergman and for Mueller, because those two kids, and quite frankly, when Waugh isn't able to go back to this to the Quebec Major Junior, that he's also going to have to be taught by Sommer, and I worry about those three guys are your future core on the back end, and I worry about those kids.
Yeah,
And let's bring up the fact that we have Larry Robinson on our payroll.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I just right now it's mismanagement after mismanagement, and now we're seeing that wheat being sown, or that wheat being reaped right now, because or lack thereof, because right now the system on the defense is just atrocious. We should have had at least 2 solid D prospects come up through the ranks already and be able to help now, instead of having a Mirko Mueller who still needs to season, and a Carl Stollery, who, what has he done? Or Dylan Namello, who doesn't look ready at all, or Matt Tennyson, who doesn't look ready at all.
And so
it's a crapshoot, though. I mean, the one thing that we have to remember is the draft is a crapshoot. I mean, like some guys work out. I mean, some guys get drafted. Like look at like Pat Falloon. Pat Falloon had all the tools to be an NHL superstar, but just none of the he didn't put in the work. Alexander Daigle. I mean, you look at. I mean, these are top flight guys. Not to mention once you get down into the lower numbers, I mean, I think it's 30% of third. I think it's like less than 30% of third round picks become NHL players, something like that. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know they drop off really, really quickly.
Well, Puck Guy would remember this. Do you remember the amount of hype that surrounded Andre Zuzin when he was a Shark?
Oh, Zuzin was like one of the big 3 rookies. I think there was a Sharks magazine cover with him, Marlowe, and Sturm. Taunting, here's the next 3 youngsters that are going to take over, for the 3 youngsters that were there before, Whitney, Friesen, and Rathje. Yeah.
So either way, we've had 8 home games, and we've had. I'm trying to think now. Has it been 2 wins on 8 home games? We won the opener against Anaheim. We lost against the Kings. Did we lose to Carolina? I thought we did.
No, we won.
Oh, okay, so we have the win against Carolina. We lost to Nashville.
5-0 at home.
We lost to Columbus.
We're 3-5 at home.
Okay, so
Anaheim, Carolina, and Florida.
Yeah, so 3-5. So once again, special teams are scraping the bottom of the barrel. You have a losing record at home. Boy, it kind of reminds me of...
You're under 500.
Yeah, you're under 500.
Kind of time in a long time.
Kind of reminds me of last February after it just too bad we can't play Anaheim, LA, and Chicago back to back to back, since Wilson loved talking about how we ended last January. So now we go on a 6-game roadie starting on Friday with back-to-back starting in Detroit and then Buffalo the next day. And we all know how well we love to lose to Buffalo.
We've only won 1 time in Buffalo, and that was the first game that Joe Thornton played as a San Jose Shark.
Yeah, that's always a good stat to roll up. So now I put this out to you. Jones getting pulled in 2 of the last 3 games. Which game does Jones start with this back-to-back? Does he start both?
No.
I say, going with DeBoer logic, I think we can call it now. He'll start Stalock against Detroit, and Jones against Buffalo.
You know what though? But if Jones didn't have the game he had tonight, I mean, I'd laugh and chuckle along. But at the same time, with I mean, other than that really terrible goal from the blue line and the way Jones has played, wouldn't you start Staylock against the better team at this point?
I would. I definitely would. And to be quite honest, I might even start Staylock twice and say, hey, you know what, Jones? If you're gonna play like that, then you know what? We'll play Staylock twice. And you know what? I mean, these are the types of decisions now that are going to have to be made. People are going to have to be sat down because there has been no real accountability shown to this team yet. They haven't been bag skated to my knowledge. I mean, we don't know that, but they've definitely had a lot of optional skates. Nobody's minutes have been cut yet. Nobody's power play time has been cut yet. I mean, it's starting to get to the point where it's like, okay, we've tried giving you the carrot. It's got to be whip time. It's got to be whip time.
We have seen a little movement. I mean, we did see Donskoy put down and switch spots with Carlson tonight, and I think part of that also has to do with the fact that we did see some little bit of chemistry between Carlson, Pavelski, and Thornton last season, despite the fact that Donskoy has shown signs. He's God, there was a player, I can't remember who, but I remember a player popped into my head earlier during the game where Donskoy seems to be getting a lot of looks. It's just he hasn't found the back of the net yet. But
oh, you mean, wait a minute, like Nieto?
I don't want to say Nieto. I think Donskoy has a little bit. He's a little bit more creatively offensively. He obviously doesn't have Nieto's wheels, but I think Donskoy actually he might be kind of a little bit of a Marlowe type, where right now he's trying to do all the right things. It's just if you want to go cliche and call it puck luck, it wouldn't surprise me if Donskoy gets on a 3, 4, 5 game point tear where he starts to it starts to come together for him.
Yeah, I don't.
It'd be great if anybody can get on a tear right now.
Yeah. I mean, I like Donskoy because, I mean, at least you can see that Donskoy puts the work in. Like, I've never really watched a game where I went, oh, God, what's this Donskoy guy still doing on the team, right? Like, that's what they need. They need guys like him, and I think having Carlson's back's going to help that because it's, at some point you're going to see, very obviously which guys are working hard and which guys aren't. And
well, speaking of that, what did you think of Carlson tonight since he did get promoted to that top line?
I thought he looked good. I thought he brought a lot of jump. I thought he energized Pavelski and Jumbo because they looked flat at the beginning of the game. And when he came in, he was just all over. He was throwing the body. He was being reckless with his body. He was getting hit. He was hitting. He was going after the puck, retrieving it, was there at the goal mouth. I thought his game was good. And I thought that Donskoy, when he was put on that third line, looked good.
He's looked better than he did on the top line. I mean, at this point, we're getting to where we got to figure out if this guy's going to make it or not. I mean, he's shown some signs of life, which apparently he fits right in with what the Sharks do all the time. But unfortunately, that's not good enough anymore. Not good enough anymore.
Now, Gen X is weighing in. He says that our good owner, Hasshole, isn't holding anybody. You know what's funny is like it's almost to the point where I almost forget his name half the time because so many people refer to him as that, but is not holding anyone accountable. He says no, nor is Tatora, nor is Wilson. Gen X says this asshole. See, I'm just gonna always say that. He got his SAP deal. That was his end game. So maybe he's bought into this. This Wilson. Remember where we kept going back to the beginning of the plan was moving Douglas Murray and Ryan Clough. That was like the start of whatever shit salad he's trying to make here.
Which was both shrewd moves at the time, to be fair.
And
I'm sorry. Oh, there were spectacular moves, and those were one of the things where it's like he got value back on those deals.
right. And don't forget, Michael Hanzus is traded for post-Teal syndrome and winning a cup with Chicago that year.
Yeah, but are you gonna? Yeah, are you really gonna credit Hanzus with that?
Yeah, like, no one's crediting Hanzus with that.
Hey, he got them an overtime game-winning goal in the Western Semi. Western
just like
Final.
saying they got sorry, not Jason Demers, but Andrew Desjardins, and then we're drifting into crazy land.
That's like saying Vancouver signed the stanchion that year.
Well, no, it's saying that it shored up a weakness and made the team stronger.
Sure.
Because otherwise Chicago was looking for it in 2013 and 2015. For some reason Desjardins had a hell of a playoff where he looked strong. I think they even were giving him PK time in there.
Sure,
but to see that happen. Oh yeah, sure. They had an awesome team. It's not like he was replacing Patrick Kane.
Right.
He was a role piece. It was kind of like what Travis Simone was supposed to be when we were supposed to make our big cup run. And that shit us. Travis Simone and Ken Huskins for Timo Pielmeyer and some guy named Nick Bonino. I wonder if Bonino's still in the league. Oh, that's right. He was in Anaheim, then Vancouver, now in Pittsburgh.
Well, either way,
wish we had Bonino there.
Yeah, but Bonino's been kind of he gets a lot of credit for some. He kind of reminds me of Matt Bolesky, where he kind of he cashed in on a
supporting cast
stretch and being a supporting cast exactly. Bonino for all the talk about when they traded from Vancouver, everyone's like, oh, he put up all these points, and it was like, yes, in the first half of the season before he did absolutely fuck all in the end of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But when's enough, and that's where the whole post-Teal syndrome came into play, where they just didn't do well in San Jose, and then a year or two after they've left, if it isn't right away, boom, they're winning championships. I mean, how much longer do we have to go on with this? Well, I mean, it's something. Is it something in the water? It must be something in the water because I don't know what else it could be.
We don't have any water. So we're going to do a final thing. 6-game roadie starts on Friday against Detroit. Swinging around the room. I'm going to start with the predictions. I say they go 1-5. With the sole win, ironically enough, coming against Buffalo. Just to be that guy.
That would be very Sharks this year, though.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I went with it.
Yeah. I'm going to say 2-4.
Who are the wins against?
They win the back-to-back, just to spite us.
Oh, they win Detroit, Buffalo, and then lose Boston, Philly, Pittsburgh, and Columbus. I like it. Ian?
You know what? I'm going to say that they will go. What we got here? 6 games. You know what? I'm going to give them 3-3. We always seem to play the Red Wings hard. Yeah, I know. We always seem to play the Red Wings hard. I think they can beat the Sabres, and I really think they should be able to beat the Flyers. The Bruins should be an iffy game. Penguins,
but they have the best player in the world.
That's true. Penguins, Penguins will probably smoke us somehow, and then the Jackets is just a throwaway game. They're going to roll us again, because of course they will.
What's funny is that Blue Jackets game is an afternoon or a late afternoon game.
Oh, so you know they'll lose it. So you know they'll lose it.
Mm-hmm.
Game over.
I mean, they play Pittsburgh at 4 p.m. on the 21st, then the 22nd they're playing the Jackets at 5 p.m. Eastern time, and in their head they're already packing up to come home. For me, jeez, maybe they steal one against Detroit, and maybe they steal against the Flyers, but that's it. And I'm iffy, so I'm going to say 1-5.
Okay, he's going with me. And then, of course, Gen X calling it 0-4-2. I like the optimism there that you think that the Sharks can actually get to 2 ties because we haven't gotten to a tie yet. So I appreciate that optimism.
But let's put it this way, though, guys. If they were to go 0-4-2 or 1-5, are we at the point where we start thinking about maybe DeBoer, or we start thinking tire fire sale? I mean, because that would put us at 8-13, and now you're tanking for Austin Matthews.
No, because we don't have the pick.
You don't have the pick.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
We don't have the pick. I mean, you're just fucked.
And
that's the worst
And
thing. Is that
that's why you move Marlowe. To try to get that first rounder.
Yeah,
and
but New York
give you a first rounder.
Yeah, because New York doesn't have theirs, LA doesn't have theirs, and
that's
Anaheim, and it's not giving you yours.
That's why I keep going back to this whole Marlowe thing, where it's like, I just don't understand how the hell he's going to get moved unless you're talking like straight up like Marlowe for Nash or something, and you're going to tell me that you think that, oh my God, okay, so Nash is going to rekindle his chemistry with Thornton. I remember, I think it was about 3 seasons ago, there was a push by a certain amount of fans. They were trying to get Nash for Pavelski, and it was like, are you? No, the most of the shit that I saw, they wanted Pavelski, and it was like, are you out of your fucking, like, who would like? Nash
I was one of those.
Nash,
I was one of those.
See, Nash, it's like Nash is older. He's making twice the amount of money, and he's putting up the same. It's like, why would you get rid of a guy who's the same or is younger, who's putting up the same numbers at half the price? That just made zero sense to me.
Well, he's not. He's only a year older than Pavelski.
But either way, I mean, you never know. Either way, to me, that was just another, brick on the house. That's just one more thing that you can point at. But either way, I looked at it as like, same numbers, Pavelski doing it at half the cost.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So AJ, you were at the Stars and Strikes event.
As was Eric.
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys think? What was the presentation like? What was the vibe?
There was a presentation? No. No, it was really cool. I of course got there right away because I have high-speed internet, whereas Eric got there late because he was on AOL. But anyway, I had to do the joke. Well, you're just always late.
My car.
You're just always late and slow. You have a car by AOL.
Let's explain this really quick because
nobody cares.
I do because everything's. Oh, I take my sweet ass time, and I live in San Jose. Well, I live in
He doesn't even know. Oh boy!
I had to do it. It was too funny not to. How do I turn it off?
No, and I think his connection's frozen now.
I don't even know how to turn it off. How the hell do I turn this off?
I'll do it.
I mean, it was so perfect at the time. How the hell do you turn this off?
I got it.
Oh, okay, it's off now.
All right, Eric, you're back.
Go ahead. It was still funny as fuck.
No, the icing on the cake was that his internet stopped midstream.
You couldn't have planned that any better. All right. Go ahead, Puck Guy. You have the floor.
Well, I was just gonna say, he can mute me all he wants, but who got owned on the bowling pins last night?
Oh, shots
he
fired.
beat me by 5. He beat me by a whopping 5.
Hey, the Sharks haven't scored 5 in a while.
Yeah, right. But see, this is the whole thing. Let's put this into context. He beat me by 5. I bowled one of my worst games, and he bowled like his best in his life. And he beat me by 5.
Yeah, and
in the words of Christian Bale, oh, good for you.
It only takes one win to beat you guys. Just like the Sharks. It takes one win at a time, and then all of a sudden you're shaking hands and going home early.
Hey, but they couldn't even win one. They had 4 shots to win one, and they couldn't do it.
Right.
Oh, really? We're gonna go on this again.
Oh,
Okay.
geez, okay.
Just tell them about
Send us home, somebody.
tell them about the pomp and the circumstance of it all.
I mean, it was nice. They introduced everybody, and then they sent the players off with these nice little pieces of paper to tell them where they're supposed to go. And the whole time, AJ's helping like Rafi Torres, Melker Carlson, who else? AJ helped them find their lanes.
I just skipped. I'm like, no, yeah. These poor sharks. We're sitting in our lanes, and I'm looking, and shark after shark is walking down the alley because we're kind of like down towards one side, and like Carlson, Dylan, I don't know, Staylock or whatever. And I just look. I go, what number you got? And they're like, 14. I go, 2 more down. And then the next one, okay, move along. You're not here. And then the best part being, when Owen Nolan walked up, and I'm like, and we were on 19 and 20, and he goes, what lane? And I go, what lane are you on? He goes, 19. And I said, you are right here, sir. Welcome to the party.
Awesome.
And then, of course, the guy on on lane 20 right next to us was, of course, the mustache himself, number
Mike
18, Mike Brown.
Yes. And he was very cool to hang out with. I know he was keeping an eye on his kids, so he was going back and forth with that. And then they switched lanes halfway through. We got Nolan on my side, and AJ got Melker Carlson on his side. It was a fun experience.
And it was cool that one lane over was Hurdle and I believe Donskoy.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and we kind of just walked around a little bit, just being in our area and taking pictures with the players. Including we even got at least I got a picture with Brody and his lovely wife Amanda, which apparently cost me $500 to NHL Ties. NHL Ties, if you're watching, it's time to get Brody's power rankings up way higher. As president of the Brody Brazil Tie fan club, I say that he's been taking his game to the next level. I've noticed he's made a number of mentions in your 3 stars of the night, so all I'm saying is, please make him higher. Please. We are not retiring number 9 for Brody, so get the 3 ahead and make it number 1.
How can you be president of the Brody Brazil fan club and not own one of his ties?
Simple. You know why? Because I'm broke. and let's be real here. I have a lovely girlfriend who's having her ring finger right now, saying, "Eric, I'm waiting."
Yeah, I don't want to even get into that. So I'll give you my my quick 2 cents on it. The drinks were overpriced. The food wasn't that great. I'm just kidding.
Bowling, not the Sharks game.
Yeah, the drinks were fine. You got a free drink ticket. You got a little plastic baggie when you walked in that had like the magnetic schedule because they make 50,000 of those.
Oh my God!
Had a couple other knickknacks in there like some chapstick and some. A couple other random things, and they give you. Unfortunately, the thing that kind of sucks is that while it's cool, they give you a bowling pin, which you could see there that Jamie Baker for a split second was holding up.
And apparently they give you a free Owen Nolan?
No, they do not give you a free Owen Nolan, but they give you a bowling pin that has the Sharks 25th anniversary logo. And the thing and they give you that on the way out. They include a little ticket to turn in for one of those. The kind of disappointing thing on that is that a couple of years earlier, Chris went to it, and he had said that they actually gave you the bowling pin as like when you were checking in. So that gave you the option to, okay, clearly something's happening on Twitter because Ian's starting to laugh, but they...
Sorry.
All right.
Chester
Chivo comes out firing.
We'll get to it. Hold on, we'll get to it in a second. But the thing that Chris pointed out that was so cool is that they would give you the bowling pin up front, so that gave you the option to get it, signed by the guys that you bowled with, which I thought was like a really cool deal. But of course, this time it was, take your shit and split. And that was one of the things that they did kind of point out in the email that they'd sent out about the event, which, you know, detailed everything that was going to happen. You know, they had a bunch of stuff for raffle and for auction, but it did point out that, you know, this is a you know, it's a foundation event. This is not like an autograph event. Please don't bring, you know, items expecting them to be autographed. So I wanted to wear my Hurdle jersey and bring a Sharpie as a just in case. And then, of course, what happens? Hurdle's in the lane right next to me, and he's signing everything. Hurdle don't give a fuck. So I was a little bummed that I didn't bring my jersey. And for the most part, every guy there was way cool, and then of course all the broadcast guys, whether it was Baker, Brody, or Ruzanowski or Randy. I mean, just everybody that you ran into were just like way cool. And probably the funniest conversation I had with a Shark, and I can't remember if Rocket was there or not, but at the Fan Fest where they had the beer thing outside. I can't remember. Yeah, that little beer garden or whatever. And Rocket and I were standing. We're kind of like in this, you know, manufactured, just kind of invented out of thin air. You know, whenever a shark walked around and stood still for more than 5 seconds, a line would form. So people were taking pictures of Staylock, and some goofy girl, you know, is posing with Staylock, and the guy taking the photo is going 3, 2, 1, and as soon as he says 1, the girl goes to like kiss Staylock on the cheek, and Staylock just backs way up and goes, no, none of that. We're not doing that. No. And so when when I saw Staylock in the bar, I said, any girls trying to kiss you on camera yet? And he just started laughing his ass off, and he goes, I'm never doing that again. So
all right,
Staylock was way cool. Well, hold on. No. Eric's got to show his picture of Baker in the pin.
No. I've been posting it up.
Yeah, it's been on.
Yeah.
It's been on, so, yeah, there you go.
Because he apparently beat Tomasz Hurdle's team, and Baker said, yeah, because he had two players that, like, bowled perfect games. Must be nice.
Yeah, he retweeted that picture all day long.
Oh, did he? Oh, cool.
Oh, God, yeah.
And that's actually my bowling pin that he's holding.
All right, so we got Generation X-Wing.
Throw the Chester Chiba one first, bro. That was perfect.
I was saving it for last, but all right.
Okay, save it for last.
Okay. So they made fewer magnetic schedules than Eric did tweet-up buttons.
Oh, boy, it's Bash Puck Guy night. All right, come on.
And then,
oh, damn.
After AJ muted Eric, Generation X-Wing also said, man, did that Puck Guy give you the full angry fake tree stare or what?
Dude, and Chester with the final 2 and best tweets of the night by far. I love it. Okay, if you don't want to do them all.
No. Those are all you, boy.
Oh, you buddy.
No. How can Puck Guy be broke when he saves so much on good internet? and then he took a shot at me and says, "Well, how is AJ not one of the Shark celebrities at the bowling event? Don't they know who he is?"
Oh man.
Oh
boy.
I know. I can't believe I had to pay for that. And then, of course, Patrick following it up with the GIF of rose petals being thrown at my feet.
Well,
appreciate that.
Throw this at you. This is the guy the Sharks are banking on to sell tickets.
I still.
Oh my God, dude! Do me a favor, put that back up. I have to screenshot that. That's fucking great.
I'll send that to you.
Dude, yes, send that to me. Oh my God, that is fucking hysterical. Oh my God, dude, did you like just think of that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is fucking hysterical.
The one thing I don't understand is why does it make it look like you're constipated and like kind of just like hunched a little bit, you know? I didn't understand that pose.
No, I do, and you know what? It's dude, the chairs that they had you sit in for this were the most uncomfortable chairs I've ever sat in my whole life. Yeah. It was like you had to just like be in this kind of weird position in there, like, and try to stay like right in this area because it's a tight shot. And, oh my god! But holy crap, dude, that's fucking awesome.
All right, Eric, take us home.
Oh, I wanted to leave that up there for a little bit longer, but see,
Leave that up there, dude. That's gonna be my profile pic.
nice.
That's fucking great.
All right, now this is why we do this show, because of the therapy that after I 4-2 Sharks lost.
Look at Rocket. Look at Rocket.
Oh, by the way, speaking of Rocket, wait, I gotta look at the tweet really quick. What was the one that she tweeted out? Oh my gosh, how do we find this one?
You do have to do that with the impact font, though. I don't know what the hell font you were using, but you have to do impact font. But yeah, Chester, is AJ doing an Edinburgh commercial?
Do we know that Rocket's on?
Well, she must be, because she just said, "Oh my God,
Okay.
dying! Oh my God, best beam ever."
Okay, Sommer. And if you don't understand why I did that, she tweeted 43 minutes ago, "Every time you mention Sommer, I drink."
And now that bottle of wine is gone.
Sharks lose 4-2 to the New York Islanders. They will play Friday night against their arch rivals from another conference, the Detroit Red Wings. That will be at 4 o'clock, which means it's an early after dark, and we will all be back. Oh, I think, AJ, you're not making it, right?
No, I'm in Tahoe. I'm betting on the game. I won't be talking about the game.
Well, that's a nice job to give Tahoe your money. But we will have Randall Hahn back tomorrow, or not tomorrow, on Friday night, and I believe he'll be with us for the weekend, covering the 2 back-to-back games with Detroit and Buffalo. So be on the lookout for that. Connor will be returning as he slowly becomes the next talk show host you will love to love. With that being said, sorry, for AJ Strong, Ian Reed, Chris JW.
It only works if you have echo.
I'm sorry, I'm not that technical here.
Okay, hold on. And I do have to do a quick pimp. Besides hitting you, I mean, everybody should do their Twitter and everything, but I do have to give a quick pimp for teal tinted glasses. Looks like I'll be guesting with Ian and Wendell and Rocket tomorrow.
Nice. So make sure you subscribe. If you're on the YouTube channel, subscribe down below. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Make sure you go to pucknology.net for all your latest news and editorial pieces. We're taking our game to the next level, and we're taking everybody down with it. So, for AJ Strong, Ian Reed, Eric Landy, Gentry Alexander, Chris JWS, Rocket Backhander, Wendell McGowan, and I guess we can now say Randall Hahn, I am PuckGuy14, saying keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it real fresh. Hey, Joe, tell us what you think about all the Pavelski trades, huh?
Hey, just fucking stop. Look, if Pride fucking started with us, fucking everybody, we want it, right? Want to do it ourselves. It's not going to work that way. It's not going to work.
He sounds so Canadian.